I love my mom. I miss my mom. Where's my mom?
I'm right here.
I miss my mom.
I'm right here, Kason. Kason.
Hi, Jesus. You're so beautiful.
He's in a dream. He's dreaming.
It started as just another quiet night in a children's hospital, until two young patients claimed they saw Jesus. Not in a dream, not in their imagination. They said he was right there in the room. And what makes this story different from the others? It was caught on camera.
He has like a beard, he doesn't have long hair, he has short hair.
Jesus, when you coming back? We need you.
The hospital security footage wasn't meant to capture miracles, but it did. In the clip, you can see both children, on different floors in different rooms, suddenly sit upright. Their faces shift, eyes wide. One of them whispers, "Do you see him too?" This isn't a blurry shadow or wishful thinking. It's real-time emotion, real reactions. And now, the footage is spreading fast. Some are calling it divine intervention. Others are trying to explain it away. But for those who've seen the clip and heard what the kid said after, there's only one word that comes to mind: chilling. Stay with us as we dive into what really happened and why it might just shake your faith in the best way possible. Every parent hopes they never have to watch their child suffer. But for the families in this story, hospital beds and IV drips became daily reality. Both children, one just 6 years old, the other 9, had been battling serious illness for months. The kind of illness where doctors stop using words like recovery and start using words like comfortable. They had tried every treatment, every medication. The machines kept running, but hope was running low. And when the lab results stopped offering answers, both sets of parents did the only thing left. They prayed. Not casually, not quietly, desperately. Hour after hour, asking God not just for healing, but for a sign, something, anything. These weren't families who grew up in church pews. In fact, one of the parents later admitted they hadn't prayed in over a decade. But something about watching their child sleep under fluorescent lights, wires taped to skin, makes a person reconsider everything. They said if God was real, now would be the time to show up. And then, something happened. It was 2:13 a.m. when the first monitor blipped, not from an emergency, but from movement. The hospital's night shift staff reviewed the hallway cams automatically, just part of their routine. But that night, one feed caught something strange. In room 208, the 6-year-old sat up, calm but alert, eyes fixed on something no one else could see. A minute later, on a separate floor, the 9-year-old did the same. Nurses who later reviewed the footage said the timing was identical, down to the second. Both kids turned their heads slightly, stared toward the door, then smiled. And then, both spoke. The younger one whispered, "He's wearing white." The older one said, "He told me I'll be okay." There was no staff in either room, no visitors, no logical explanation. And yet both children described the same man, with the same gentle voice, the same outstretched hand. Security flagged the clip. Doctors watched it. No one could explain it, but no one could ignore it either. Once the children were stable, nurses gently asked what they saw. And that's when the details came out. Unprompted, consistent, and honestly, hard to believe, unless you heard it yourself. The 6-year-old said, "He had a bright light around his head, like the sun, but it didn't hurt my eyes." She said, "He called her by name, no introductions, no confusion, just peace." The 9-year-old? He described a man with holes in his hands, who smiled and said, "Don't be afraid. I've been with you the whole time." Neither child had ever read the Bible in depth. Neither had been told about visions or saints or heavenly visitations. Yet both gave identical descriptions of Jesus: robes, scars, warmth, presence. And the most striking thing? Both said he never opened the hospital door. He just appeared. And when he left, they weren't afraid. They weren't confused. They were calm, like something inside them had been lifted. They weren't just telling a story. They were changed. Doctors are trained to look for patterns, to explain symptoms, to root every moment in biology, chemistry, or physics. And in this case, they tried. They reviewed medication charts, checked vitals, ran every neurological test you can imagine. But there was nothing. No evidence of hallucinations, no high fevers, no overlapping conditions. One physician admitted, "We see a lot of strange things in this job, but this was different." The staff even brought in a hospital chaplain just to talk through it. And he said something that stuck with the parents. Not everything can be measured, but it can still be real. For believers, the answer was clear. These children were touched by something divine. For skeptics, it raised new questions they couldn't just dismiss. Why would two unrelated kids see the same thing at the same time with no exposure to each other's stories? Coincidence might explain a flickering light, but this was something else. Sometimes faith doesn't need to argue with science. It just steps into the room, and everything changes. Let's be honest, stories like this are easy to scroll past. Another viral headline, another blurry miracle. But when you hear the raw, quiet voices of these kids, when you see the timing, the expressions, the words they use, you start to feel it. This wasn't random. This wasn't hype. This was a reminder that when things look impossible, when doctors have nothing left to give, when prayers feel like they're bouncing off the ceiling, God still moves. Not always in fireworks, sometimes in hospital rooms, sometimes through the mouth of a child, and sometimes, if you're paying attention, on a security camera that wasn't supposed to capture anything at all. So here's the question: what are you going to do with that? You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have all the answers. But if this story stirred something in you, don't ignore it. Share it. Talk about it. Pray about it. Because if Jesus can show up at 2 a.m. in a hospital hallway, he can meet you right where you are too.